Hello, colleagues who have joined us recently, and thank you all who have been staying with us from the previous talk. It's BA Excellence Conference that is conducted by the Global BA community. And now I would like to invite you our next speaker, Vikas Agarwal, with the topic Unlocking Potential Conceptual Thinking in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning. Vikas will be exploring the fascinating world where artificial intelligence meets human creativity and problem solving, and he calls that conceptual thinking. Hello, Vikas.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Great. You can full screen your presentation and we can start.
Is it full screen now?
No, it's not full screen now.
Now?
No. While we're waiting, I would like to
Just give me a moment.
Yes, yes. I would like to share a couple of additional moments from our Global
Yeah,
BA community site, and then we can start. So the session is being recorded, and the recording will be available a week after the end of the session. After our presentation, we will have a Q&A session, so you can send questions to the chat or leave them on the agenda page. So feel free to ask your questions or express your opinion. And now we can see full screen. And because I know that in your career, there have been various successful implementations and applications in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Could you share a few words about your past with our audience?
sure. Thanks, Kate. I come with a varied experience where I worked with three different industries in more than 2 decades of experience. And these industries are telecom, manufacturing, and information technology solutions. So the pace in AML deployment has caught up in last 7 8 years, but my association with power of statistics and related programming has been very long. And in last decade, ready to use data science libraries in Python, R, and various online platforms gave wings to my experience. And that made me incubating some platform and teams who are exclusively working on data science specific applications and especially focused on telecom networks where the data is not generated by human led transactions but by the devices, and these devices which are there on the network when they interact with surrounding systems bring very interesting patterns. So imagine some wireless devices interacting with the environmental system or some power systems and generating tons of data. While working in this technology, cutting across various use cases, I believe behind every successful AIML model lies a crucial element which often goes unnoticed, and that's the power of conceptual thinking. And that's what I intend to cover during today's session. And in addition to my work, I believe in complete well-being, and that's where I practice yoga for last 18 years. In the mid of life's hustle, I never miss an opportunity to jot down my experiences and stories, and that's come out in the form of blogging and white papers. So this is all about me. I've written several of those white papers and blogs in my company's uh, company's LinkedIn, company's portal and LinkedIn as well. I look forward to hosting this session for all of you. Over to Kate now.
Thank you, Vikas. It sounds very inspiring for us. And due to I have already shared our additional moments, technical moments from BA community side, I suppose that we can start our session. And you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure presenting in my thoughts to all of you today. I'm sure as a part of this conference, you must be feeling overwhelmed by now with the amount of knowledge being shared about AIML, which include tools, algorithms, different approaches to address some of the use cases. But my focus would be more on how do we create significant value out of our work, which we deliver through our AIML models. And that's where I would like to focus on something called conceptual thinking. I would like to take all of you through my journey, that how did I arrive on choosing this topic as an important skill, especially for all of those who have just entered in this area or plan to enter. I will cover what exactly conceptual knowledge is, how it can be gathered, and how this can be applied in our day-to-day work, or improved with some of example from my own experience. So it all started with the onset of pandemic, and that's where this journey started. Where finding the talent, scanning the profile, interviewing, all of a sudden went online, and we did not have a chance to meet someone to gauge confidence and depth of knowledge by meeting in person. It was all left to the facial expression, and the way of communication, and some online test. Earlier in my life, when I hired some teams, I never left a chance to meet the candidate in person, or I will ensure that at least one of my team member meet the newcomer in person before he joins our team. So we have a very good bonding and understanding with the new members from the day one. But pandemic was driving us through its own choices, and we were not left to our own, definitely at that point of time. Now, once we had few members in our team, we started working on building a platform and started interacting with few of the clients. So we remain grounded about the market needs, accordingly refine the product. One of our client, you know, uh, which is from telecom, and I work in telecom domain current in my current position. So they shared a very unique problem with us. Again, keep in mind it's a pandemic start which has already taken place. So they say that in the mid of pandemic, the demand of their network is becoming very very unpredictable, and through the application of AML, can you guys bring some amount of predictability? In one of the parameter, they wanted us to predict the number of modem or number of devices which are operational on given area of network. So imagine in New York, if there is a network area, how many currently devices are logged on or patched onto the network, and they wanted to know for any given location or any given region for any given time. Now this is the historic part of it, but from a prediction point of view, in the next 1 day, 2 day, or 3 days window, can we look at this prediction of devices which are coming to the network to join that? Now, why that was important for them, just to understand, because what happens because of the surge in demand, as lot many people moved from office to their residences, and there was a surge of devices getting registered on the network. There were times when customers, either the devices were rejected or they were in queue. So overall, the experience of the network, the first time experience of the network, was not really good for some of the customers. So that was the problem given by our customer. Now, so this was our sort of first challenge for this team, who was newly incubated, some experienced people, some fresh out of the university. So a mix of a very good blend of diversity into this team. Now they came with a lot of good ideas, a lot of insights from the data which was shared to us. They started building this data dictionary, data pre-processing, wrangling, feature engineering, all sort of work which could be done to make it a machine learning model. And while we were in the process of handling this big data, the customer request came in that, hey guys, can I look into what exactly are you doing, where exactly your direction going on. So it was a mid progress check which client wanted to do, and I started looking some challenges in terms of what extra can we give to this client. Basically, team was very good in formal processing, process of building model. You bring data, we treat data, look at covariance metrics, see the relationship among different parameters, and based on the strength, we select or deselect some of the parameters to build the model. But what if some important parameter not captured by the client in the data set, which influence the dependent variable? What if there are some external parameters which influence the dependent variable? And what if some data is available in this some other client system, but we do not have the right reason or right question to ask the client? And these were some of the questions which were really haunting my mind. I also challenge my team in asking these questions. So why do we exist in the business? Do we exist in the business to build a machine learning model? Do we exist in the business to do data analytics, or do we exist in the business to solve some problem? The answer is obvious, that we certainly exist in the business to solve problems for the end user or for our clients. So as long as we are solving some problem, either building an application, building a product, building a solution, we will be just beyond our expectation. So that has to be kept in mind. At this point of time, as I said, that team was facing this challenge in terms of going beyond data, thinking beyond data. I had to coach the team, uh, go into the problem, think why we need to solve this problem. Is the problem coming due to the change in the business environment, socio or demographic environment? Is the problem coming due to changing or static need of the client? Or is the problem coming due to some intangible or tangible loss to the business? Where exactly the problem is coming? So at this point of time, I thought that there is a need for conceptual thinking in this team. Having the power of conceptual thinking, if it is rightly applied to any problem, how it can unlock the potential to see the problem in complete new perspective and finding the long lasting sustainable solution. Such thinking brings enormous power of creating so much value to your client and to the end customer. So let's first understand what is conceptual thinking before we go much deeper into it. So conceptual thinking is the practice of connecting abstract, disparate ideas to deepen understanding, create new ideas, reflect on past decisions. And people who are really very good conceptual thinker, they can easily understand the abstract concept like the function of a complicated business or a very very non-linear digital process. They can easily decipher what is happening inside. So they can connect these disparate concepts to find a very very innovative idea and reflect on past decisions to improve the future outcome. And these can come, these abstract ideas, disparate ideas should not be limited to the domain where we are working. So suppose if I'm working in a telecom domain, my thought process should go beyond telecom. It might be an energy distribution or electricity distribution, it might be manufacturing, it might be healthcare. So that is how one need to really build the conceptual thinking. So many of times when I talk about this conceptual thinking among the fraternity who practice AIML, it definitely one thing come in discussion. Yes, it is certainly a softer skill, but much valuable for a variety of reasons. And at this point of time, we need to have a caution that conceptual thinking is should be really kept away from decision making. So the moment you come with a conceptual thought or an idea, it is not a decision, it is not the final outcome. Which is final outcome has to be validated or tested by machine learning. But the it is the starting point to say that what data do I need, how do I treat the data, from a conceptual thinking point of view. And I'll talk much deeper into this. So uh, so so as I said, that decision should be made based on the conceptual thinking, and it should not be considered as the decision itself. Now we also need to sort of define it in a single term for much more for our AIML practitioner fraternity. So if you have to say that it is the ability to think in abstract terms and construct some meaningful concept that makes application of AML more relevant for its stakeholder. And its stake this word stakeholder is very very crucial here, because many times you build a product, you build a solution which is based on machine learning or artificial intelligence. It is not going to only impact one stakeholder or two stakeholders. There will be various stakeholders within the organization where it will touch, or it will directly or indirectly impact or influence. So how that is taken care through the while you're working in model building is all about conceptual thinking. So the whole idea is that look at the big picture. Any organization is not driven by individual goals or targets. It is the vision or the mission of the organization which drives it. Hence, the idea here is able to draw a picture which becomes more significant, not for a use case or an individual, but for the whole organization. Now, let's also look at that. What are the why the conceptual thinking is so important for business analyst community, data science, or AML practitioners. So this conceptual thinking in various aspects of AIM model is used. I will go one step by one step in the coming slides. This can be comprehending the given problem, looking at the discovery of various parameters, deep diving into major factors, and some of the unknown factors which might be impacting or influencing the target variable while we define the problem. So at the time of defining the problem itself, a lot of conceptual thinking can be done, and the data source or the data can be gathered. So then additional data will have immense power of converting this whole business problem to a data science problem. And such kind of a abstract thinking slowly enable in gaining more domain knowledge. So the more you look at the unknown data, look at the data which is beyond the given set of the data, your domain knowledge goes a one notch up. And such domain expertise really help you when you are communicating with the majority, you are communicating with client, or you are communicating with some product users, because you know the domain. You are not coming only from the machine learning knowledge point of view. So conceptual thinking also involves understanding how details fit into the circumstances. And such details may come through past experience, knowledge, imagination, your instinct. How do you really think when a problem is given to you? And even abstract thinking can create so many alternatives. And I'll give you a very classic example here, from my own experience. One of the customer, we were dealing with a customer who is based in US, and they gave us that, okay, can you predict the network fault while we manage the change? So just to let everyone know who is not from the network domain, in network many times new patches or new parameters or new configuration come, which are during the less crowded time, those are ingested or those are changed over the network. And many times you can find a communication coming from your network provider that our network will be down for 5 minutes, 2 minutes or something because of certain changes. So this customer said that we initiate the changes for a target region, for a target customers, but the customers beyond the region get impacted. And that because of that, a lot of complaint, a lot of customer agony come to us. So can you really predict that any initiative, any change which is initiated, how it will, how much customers will it impact, or who will be those customers? So we can, proactively communicate to them and all that. So we got very good amount of data about their change logs, their configuration logs, their timing of the changes, and their proactive and reactive maintenances, and their target region, different locations, let long data, and then some target customers data. But when we were looking at all of this, and then the this whole change thing was related with the customer getting impacted, which are not targeted. So we were still thinking that if we create a model based on that, it can certainly help. But are we really looking at the customer discomfort, that what customer discomfort is going to happen because of these changes? And somehow we could not really get the data because of the limitation of the systems, that how customer requirement or satisfaction get impacted through these changes. Is it the network speed? Is it the network disruption? Is it the plan, where what the network, what the customer is activated on, what exactly get really impacted? So then we said that, okay, let's go beyond our thinking, or beyond the data set. If a customer is getting impacted, they might be feeling discomfort, and before reporting it to the telecom operator, they might be going in the social media. So can we look at tweets of those particular period from that particular region uh, in the US, and that how the customers are behaving on the Twitter? Similarly, when we look at the Twitter data, we started finding some pattern, and I'll not really divulge much of the information because of the the kind of agreement we have with our clients. Similarly, we look at one more thing which happens in US is that every operator files their customer satisfaction and the network performance data to a telecom regulator, and from the telecom regulator website you can download the data. So we said that, okay, let's look at that data as well. Is it really getting impacted because of these changes for a particular region or for a particular target set of customers? And we could easily find some pattern, and we really made a very impressive narrative around it, that how network changes are leading for the customer disset, and then further impacting the customer image. So here was an example that how do we really fit in the details into the context, or into the need of the customer. Now we have to let's start with something where you can easily look at how do we apply a conceptual thinking. So just to make things very easy for all of us, I just brought in this example. If you see this annual sales pattern, and this is more of a bar graph, month on month bar graph, and very nicely colored, each month representing each color. And then it is being shown to any stakeholder, or it is being considered for any decision making. But the moment you apply conceptual thinking, the whole perspective really gets changed. So sales increase in warmer months. So these are the warmer months which where the sales is increasing. Now you not necessarily get the when you are getting the sales data, you might not be getting the weather data. You might not be getting the the location wise weather, whether this location is close to seashore or this location is close to is in the field. That is your own thinking when you apply, or the conceptual thinking makes you putting these kind of narratives or putting this kind of a viewpoint for your stakeholders. Now, there are various ways how you can develop conceptual thinking. Let me go one by one for the benefit of the audience. One of the first and foremost is challenging your own thought and concept. Just to say that what else can be done? Is it really right the way I'm thinking? Is it really going to work the way I'm thinking or the way we are treating this data? Reading of variety of the books. So don't limit yourself to telecom, to manufacturing, or to retail, to bank. Read variety of books, and you can really infer, or you can really find different connecting dots from these books, which come to your domain, and that's really helping developing conceptual thinking. It will be good that you build great communities around you, where you take your problems, you listen to the others solution, you listen to other problem. So that kind of a community, something like a BA excellence community today, it might be really really helpful in developing the conceptual thinking. So don't be really really stereotyped to your own work or own domain or something. Go very very diverse in terms of being surrounded by some like-minded people, but coming from different skill set. One thing which need to be continuously promoted in the organization is respecting everyone's perspective, respecting everyone's perspective or the views, and visualizing not only the data. Don't limit yourself to data visualization. Can you really visualize a large picture where this problem is solved? So for example, when I work with my team, I always say that imagine you are sitting in that environment. So for example, if you are working in a retail prediction, whether this customer will buy or not. So you predict whether this customer will buy toothpaste or not at this point of time, at this date of month. Can you sit something like a retail billing person, and then imagine yourself that how the recommendation will appear, how the billing person will react to it, how the how he will communicate this to customer, whether he's buying or not buying or something. So all that kind of thinking has to come in way when you're developing certain machine learning models. So the idea is to make these predictions far more easier for the end user who's going to buy the toothpaste, or for the end user who's going to recommend the toothpaste to a retail buyer or to a retail customer. So that kind of a visualization in the mind on a whiteboard while doing the thinking can really really be very helpful. And then I always, say in my teams that think in images. So don't think in data, don't think in text or something. Think in images. So picturize in your mind that you are in the retail store, you are a customer. Think in images. And then beyond this, I have seen many organizations where which completely lack in the way the conceptual thinking should be promoted, and complacency is one of the factor. Then fear of failure, doing something and then having fear that I will be my boss will be shouting, my boss will be annoyed, or someone else will be annoyed. So these kind of things really create a lot of barrier in becoming a very very good conceptual thinker. Now, one of the conversation which I was having with a friend earlier this month, he said that look, this will automatically come with experience, and don't you believe so? I said yes. See, everyone goes through a learning process, an experience process, but for us the idea is that how we can inculcate that thing which will come let's say after 5 years or 10 years to our developers. Can we bring in some of that knowledge for them to start right now? Otherwise, if we wait for them to learn slowly with the process, slowly with the industry, then I think all of us are late. And hence, this session is more focused at how do we bring that knowledge, that learning with experienced people anyway have because of their industry interactions, because of their industry experience. But can that be brought in as a culture? Can that be inculcated as a mandate that yes, everyone has to be a conceptual thinker, or everyone has to really think in this direction? That's the whole idea behind this session. And coming back to the barriers of conceptual thinking, more and more dominant processes within the organization. No, this happens this way, this happens that way. Also create a lot of hurdle or roadblocks for conceptual thinking to develop. So now I've created a ground for us to understand that what exactly is the conceptual thinking and what exactly I'm talking with certain example. Let me also take you through how you can apply at each and every step of a machine learning model development. And here I'm referring a very simple machine learning development model, which is called CRISP model, and it's got 8 steps starting from data collection, data preparation, data exploration, feature engineering. So these are first 4 steps, and each step has certain set of tasks which need to be executed. So data collection, you've got data extraction, sourcing the data from the different data sources. It might be devices, it might be your billing system, it might be your CRM system, it might be your websites, databases, all of them. And then once that data is gathered, stored in your data warehouse or data lake, then you start doing a data preparation for your machine learning models. And then data preparation, then doing the exploration through again some diagnostic or descriptive analytics, various charts, various graphs. You use data exploration and feature engineering. Similarly, you move to the next 4 steps where you do the model development, doing the model validation, model deployment to any of the system in your organization, or maybe you are doing a model deployment through your MLOps pipeline. And then you're doing continuous monitoring, continuous enhancement of those models. Now, if you see, as I said, that each and every step, so start from data collection. When you are collecting the data for a given problem, that's where you can challenge the data. That's where you can challenge the thought process that whether the data which is given is complete or not, to solve the problem, not to build the model. Building the model is one, but to solve the problem. Now, similarly, when you are treating the data, you are exploring the data, you can create various hypotheses based on conceptual thinking. I very strictly practice conceptual thinking at the stage of feature engineering, because that is one step where I feel most of us really just ignore. We said that okay, these are the given set of parameters. We fine tune the parameters, we drop some parameters, we do the hyper parameter fine tuning, all of that. But at the feature engineering, are there some feature which can be created through conceptual thinking? So when I was talking about this, Twitter data. That's where we created approximately 9 new features based on the data which was provided to us. So, for example, from this US regulator, we got only the reports or the logs. We didn't get the data. So there is a difference in the data and the report. So in a machine learning model, you cannot really use the reports. So how do we really use the reports which have been given on the monthly basis, showing a day-to-day pattern, you know, of the network performance to the US regulator? And that's where we use those KPIs to generate some synthetic data. And basis the synthetic data, we used into our machine learning model, and then we came out with various kind of predictions, and we got this validated with the customer as well. So a point is that the feature engineering is one area where application of conceptual thinking really should be stressed. Now, coming, model deployment, model development, model fitting, your meeting your, financial goals or something at the time of development. What kind of compute, what kind of storage you need, all of that can be easily done with applying conceptual thinking apart from the machine learning development skill. And in the last, a machine learning model will meet its purpose if you really, apply conceptual thinking across all the steps. Now, I'll take all of you through a case once again. And, as I said earlier, I work in the network domain of telecom, where a customer gave us that, okay, can you predict faults on the defined network? And that those faults were related to, let's say, software failure, it might be hardware failure, or might be power failure on the network, and network getting disrupted, and customer getting impacted because of all of those reasons. So we got definitely a set of data from the customer, from their service log. We started looking into the data from a conceptual thinking point of view. Time of the day is given, failure might be higher during the peak hours, the location might be a really very, very high relevant parameter, which is more prone to failure. And at location, I can give you another example. We were, working with an Asia-based operator, where we were trying to find out these fault pattern. And what we could, the data was given just the location, the lat long locations of these network to us. And one of the feature we introduced into it is that how many lat long, or latitude or longitude, are closer to seashore or are closer to sea, because that's where you will find that because of the evaporation of the water, your network connectors get erosion, or those will get corrosion, and that will lead to network disruptions, or network sluggishness time to time. So all that information which is coming additionally, which is not being captured in the customer system, being supported by various other factors, that brings much more closer to conceptual thinking. And similarly, on the maintenance activity, power failure, server breakdown. So the idea is that we again, as I said, as a part of the practice, we apply conceptual thinking, and we looked at these some additional thing. And here the idea of conceptual thinking was, how can we correlate a network with a manufacturing company? And in a manufacturing company, you will find that some particular part or component from a supplier, or from a vendor, gives you problem. And you will find that many times the cars are being recalled, saying that a part provided by X vendor has been found faulty, and the car has to be recalled to the dealership, and the part has to be repaired or replaced. So then we said that, is there a possibility that some particular network equipment are giving problem? Is there a possibility that some out of the warranty equipment are giving problem on the network? And if you go, again in the weather direction, so many times you will find that energy or the electricity supply is disrupted by natural catastrophes. So is there a impact of the weather on the network performance? Are there some location or demography which are prone to natural disasters? So all of this we added through this conceptual thinking. Again, I'm taking all of you to a very, very simple exercise. How can you really apply conceptual thinking when you look at some data? So these are some 2 3 different patterns which you will find in any kind of data, which is either shown on a graph or on a chart. So if a trend is continuously going up, um, then these handy tips, why or how do we look at the things differently which relate to each other? So is there something to compare, something more meaningful which lead to the potential insight? So if I compare a contrast, a high bar or a low bar, what can be the causes behind it? Now, what question someone might ask looking at this data set? So many times you will find that you take your machine learning model, or a prediction to a stakeholder, and then he asks you certain questions. So what kind of questions can be generated out of this pattern? And can I answer those through machine learning itself, or those through combining the data set which is used for machine learning or AI model? I'm heading towards the end of this session. There are three, four more slides to talk about. And before I really, end this, it is really meaningful that I recapture all of the things which I shared in last 20, 30 minutes. How do we really become better in conceptual thinking? As I said, that visualize the large picture. So don't just visualize the data in some of the specific tool, maybe Tableau or ClickView or any other cloud-based tool, but try to look at the large picture. Become a storyteller, not merely reporting or showing something, but how can I narrate this story? That if during the whole year there is a tide, there is a frequent tide which come in this month. If you look at the pattern, these months get high number of network failure. These high number of network failure because this is a travel tourist season as well. So network also get flooded with a lot of tourists coming to this region. The tide is there, the tourist is there, and hence the network is prone to more and more fault something. And then definitely predicting the similar kind of pattern year on year based on the machine learning, because machine will find those patterns which happens at a particular time of the year and accordingly predict. uh, Now machine has got certain limitations, and similarly data has certain certain limitation. But can I go beyond the certainty? Can I go beyond the beyond what has been given to the machine or what has been given through the data? And that's where the empathy come in picture. And why I am highlighting empathy here, that think from a customer point of view. What is the end user who is going to use the outcome of this machine learning model? And that makes you a better conceptual thinker. Similarly, discover insights. So many people in my team, I find them, they very look at the data. The kind of data is there, is a binary data or is a categorical data. Even within, based on that, they're easily able to sniff out what kind of patterns are there. So that discovering those insights really help you in becoming a better conceptual thinker. And then while you read different books, blogs, newspapers, so spot the emerging trend, that how these emerging trends, so something like a sports, something like a fight between two countries, something like a COVID kind of an event, or something, or maybe a pandemic which is specific to one country. How is it impacting the data which is being targeted for your machine learning model? Can that be be brought in as a different dimension or as a different prediction? And a lot of work is happening in this direction. I'll just take all of you through that. Many of the customers now asking, or there is a huge noise about it, that how can we move away from a model based AI to a data based AI? So as a machine learning practitioner or a AML practitioner, a lot of people just focus on saying that, okay, this model is good, this model is far more accurate, this algorithm is giving better output. But the ask is that, can we shift our focus in getting more and more data which becomes easily consumable by AI model or by machine learning model, and rather than focusing on fine tuning the model itself, or fine tuning the right algorithm. So these kind of things are coming. And if you see, there is a whole lot of work which is happening on the causal AI, that the AI which help us in finding the root cause. And through the conceptual thinking, you really become closer to these kind of work, either a database AI or a causal AI. So many times, as I am a good advocate about conceptual thinking, many times people come to me. What's the difference between analytical thinking and conceptual thinking? How do we really differentiate this? We feel that we have very good analytical thinking. Now, while analytical thinking is more of a methodical or logical method of breaking down complex issues, accordingly gathering relevant data, examining data for patterns or relationship, drawing conclusion to solve the problem. At the same time, the conceptual thinking application is basically based on overall understanding of the business to see the solutions or the possibility which analytical thinkers would not cover, or they might have missed during this process. So such thinking, which is called conceptual thinking, is not typically available through the machine or any algorithm or something. This is completely human, and that's where the difference between how the machine and human will coexist come in picture. So in nutshell, analytical conceptual thinking starts from where analytical thinking ends. So that's how, but it's a but working on any AML model is something like a jigsaw puzzle. You really wear both kind of hats. You sometimes think conceptual way, sometimes you become analytical thinker. So it's not one thing which will solve both the problems. Now, towards this end of today's talk, I really want to reveal another secret. Why I really came up with this session, why I got inspired to put up these slides and then having in front of all of you. I read this book called Why Right Brainers Will Rule the Future. And this is a book from 2005, very famous writer, Daniel Pink. He has written many other books, and where he writes the whole where he writes that we are near the end of information age, and focusing solely on numbers and reports isn't that valuable. The real value will come from the knowledge that we create, and he calls this conceptual age. And that's where you will see on the onset of generative AI, I believe all of us have started agreeing to this statement that information and intelligence has become commodity. So information and intelligence, which is coming out of that information, it might be a data, it might be a structured data, unstructured data, has all become commodity. It is the knowledge which will really, create a distinction between machine and human. And who knows that even knowledge is slowly getting commoditized. So we have to really come now with a different way where human will be, different than machine. So it's a continuous evolution process. With this, I really end this session and look forward to any questions all of any one of you have. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you, Vikas, for such an inspiring session, I can say. And now we can open our Q&A session because we have a couple of minutes to discuss something. And I would like to start with the following question. How can we ensure that AI systems developed through conceptual thinking aligned with the ethical considerations and social values?
That's a very interesting. There are a lot of discussion happening on ethical AI. See, what I firmly believe that being ethical or unethical of the AI completely depends on the human part of it. That how do you apply AI, what kind of model you prepare, or what kind of ethical uses you put into. So the best way to deal with this is that having frameworks in the organization or in the area where you are working with these kind of models, and having a compliance in place while you go beyond the data, go in the hunt of data or in the quest of data. What are the framework, or what are the legitimate limits which you need to follow while hunting for the data and applying into the machine learning. So that framework, which is commonly agreed, which is commonly validated, uh, is the right answer to create a boundary between the ethical or unethical AI.
Thanks. Our next question. Can you share any insights or recommendations for organizations or researchers aiming to foster a culture of conceptual thinking in the AI ML model development teams?
That's again interesting one. As I said that as a culture, even I am following this very strongly in our practice. What we have regular sessions among some kind of ignite talks or some kind of knowledge sessions, some kind of community where you keep challenging each other's thought, and though that's that kind of criticism should be open criticism, not to a person specific. And that is where more and more ideas come, and more creativity. I mean, I really don't want to go the creative side of it, but more and more knowledge comes that how do we really handle this problem, what kind of data really we should do, what kind of feature should be added, is that really required or not required, would it add value or not add value or something. But I would say that having the best way to deal with this is having a community, very very productive community, and throwing some challenges into the community, which can really cherish for the years. Yeah.
Thank you. And our last question. How does conceptual thinking contribute to the interpretability and explainability of AI ML models?
Yes, that becomes really tricky. Uh, what I feel that explainability of AI or interpretability becomes far more easier with conceptual thinking. However, I'm yet to really come across such kind of a complex situation. But to me, if you just completely rely on the given data set, which have its own challenges, you're far more far than to the reality. But the more you go with your conceptual thinking more closer to the user, more closer to the end customer, you become far more easier to interpret or easier to digest the outcome of AI and ML.
Thank you. And we received one more question from our audience. Um, First of all, thank you for the interesting talk and how a BA can introduce conceptual thinking among her BA team if the colleagues are not familiar with it.
So create very very what I would say the starting point would be create some awareness session which should be very very domain specific. So suppose you are working in banking domain, how conceptual thinking within the banking domain can be inculcated. Just think about it. There are some good books about conceptual thinking. Even if you go through this book, Connecting the Dot, Steve Jobs kind of a thinking, that also brings you very, very good conceptual thinker. Take them to various events where, such kind of discussions are happening. Take them to real life situations. So for example, in our practice, we will also take our developers to the real network. I would encourage them that okay, when you are going through this, just stop by the network, look at the network, look at the tower, look at the wireless antenna. How is it connected? All those things. So that those kind of thing, and look at the wires which are going through this wireless antenna, how those can be disrupted or how this those can be disconnected. So what I would say in nutshell, a real life plus a classroom or a community based awareness session can really start doing. And as a coach, you pick up one area where you will enforce it, to say that okay, there is the step where I will enforce conceptual thinking by challenging my team. I think that's another way of putting this up.
Thank you. And I cannot see any other questions, so we can close our Q&A session. And now I would like to say thank you to our speaker, Vikas, for such an useful session, I can say, and for sharing your experience and knowledge with our audience. And also, I would like to say thank you to our audience for joining us, watching, and asking questions. Yes, please leave your feedback directly from this QR code. And also, we would like to ask you to propose any topics that you would like to cover during our next possible BA conference. Also, use minty.com. And I want to highlight one more time that the conference is being streamed from the official YouTube channel of the Global BA community. And here you will find recordings of our past events, interviews, podcasts, and a lot of other cool content. So subscribe to the channel and stay up to date. And in continuation of our conference, please join our next session on the topic Mastering ChatGPT for Business Analysts, which will begin in a couple of minutes. See you soon.
Thank you.